Yeah, man, really smart. So a couple things here. Again, high likelihood risks.
Dark Star Gear is one of the few companies that I trust to make holsters that I wear. They make high quality appendix carry holsters for a variety of firearms manufacturers. Check them out at the link in the description.
Need to address to minimize the occurrence. So if it's a high likelihood, now let's think about this. Can I really reduce the chances of somebody having a heart attack in church? I might be able to long-term go, hey, we're going to do some healthy stuff, and we're going to do church walks, and we're going to get everybody's cardio health better. Okay, fine. Probably nothing I'm going to do about that in the interim in terms of making that better. How about a kid falling on the playground?
Make sure kids are safe.
Yeah, so I might be able to go, hey, we made that crushed, car tire problem so that when the kid falls, they're much less likely than if it was concrete to break an arm. So I minimize the occurrence of a big problem. Now, on the other hand, if I had somebody that had a heart attack, could I minimize the consequences of their heart attack? AED turns an absolute death sentence into an inconvenience. And every church in America should have AEDs in every building. They're a couple $1,000s, and they literally save lives. Okay?
Check the battery dates, by the way.
Oh yeah, make sure they're doing good, okay? A car break-in during services. Can I decrease the likelihood of car break-ins during service? How might I do that? Somebody out there in the parking lot, if you got a big enough church that's part of your security detail. Maybe even just cameras. Visible cameras might deter people getting broken into cars or, something like that, right? Domestic spilling over into gathered worship. Now, again, if you're being proactive here and your pastor knows, hey, we're having a couple that's having some really serious domestic issues and they don't have great interpersonal skills and sometimes put hands on each other. That can happen. I think it's wrong, and I think we should deal with that in a proactive way, and law enforcement should get involved when people put hands on each other. But we might go, hey, we're really having a struggle here, and so I'm checking in with Brad and Jennifer and saying, hey, you guys, can this be a neutral zone in a safe place? And maybe you're not coming together, but you're showing up together to have something to do together, to worship the Lord together, to maybe have a little time. But what I really need is I need you to check in and it to be a safe place for you. Can we do that? And then I'm letting my safety team know, hey, we're having some significant challenges here, but we all agree this is a safe place for us to work together. Can you reinforce that with me? Yeah, of course we can, Pastor. Great, right? So that's what a place your security team's going to go. High consequence risk. Need to be addressed to minimize the consequences. Active killer. How do we keep the body count under 10?
If they're quick, stop the threat.
Have somebody armed, present, and willing. Ed Monk has done this research exhaustively and conclusively. You want the body count to be under 10? Somebody armed, present, and willing.
Be there.
Got to be on site. If you're on site, armed, present, and willing, the body count's going to be less than 10. Nobody armed, present, and willing, 10 people die the first minute, 6 people a minute die every minute after that. Simple as that. Okay? A natural disaster. Are we gonna stop now? So I live in Arizona. You know what the natural disaster is in Arizona? It gets hot, right? It gets really hot. Now, we do actually have really severe storms. We get these microburst storms that are like a 1 square mile, like Cat 5 hurricane. Yeah. Will rip the roof off your house. We had at our church, and thankfully it wasn't on a Sunday, we had at the church completely rip a 100-year-old oak tree out of the ground. It's a pine tree.
What is it?
It's a microburst storm.
Microbursts.
Like a giant storm that's like 1 square mile.
It's a very small concentrated storm cell. Goes
Yeah.
up to about 60,000 feet.
Yeah.
And it just, you get
Ripped
tornadoes spun out.
A 100-year-old pine tree out of the ground by its roots and then set it right back down where it was.
They flip over
Semi-trucks and airliners, yeah. So, okay, but what are we going to do to minimize the risk of that? Nothing.
We'll have a shelter-in-place plan. What do you do if you're there and it pops up where you're in service?
Evacuation plan, because we have plans here in Kansas and when I was in Missouri, we had active plans.
So, you live here in Kansas.
Tornadoes.
By choice, you live where, I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, dude. You live where you can end up in Oz. Okay, you got to have a plan for tornadoes. And something in place for that. Okay, you got to have a plan for that. Whatever's most likely. Simple as that. Okay? All right, a couple more minutes, then we'll go and take a break. All right? Let's talk about security relative to church size. So first of all, every church is unique. Every church is unique. People say, well, John, how many security should I have based on? And your particular needs are different. I do think the larger the church, the more structure it needs in every area of its life. Because a church of 200 is going to function more like a family, but a church of 500 or more like a business. I guest preached at times in big churches. I have a friend that pastored the largest Calvary chapel in all the Phoenix area. I taught all his kids in Bible college. I went to Israel with him and his wife and his kids and 150 of his church members. I couldn't pastor that church. No way. I'd go guest preach there. I'm just not built for that kind of church. I'm not built for any kind of church anymore. Security at smaller churches functions more informally and familiar, but that doesn't mean sloppy. So you go, hey, we got a church of 100. There's 4 of us that show up every Sunday that think about church security and safety. Cool. So what does that mean for us, right? And how does that work for us? So just kind of thinking through some of that. Okay, this does not mean sloppy. I want to do that. Now, again, formal versus informal on the safety team. The larger the church, the more formal procedure and organization. And some church insurance companies really don't like formal security teams and require additional insurance. So you need to check. Brotherhood Mutual insures about 70% of churches in America. And so Brotherhood Mutual is one. They require an additional line. And so you go, well, we just won't tell them. How's that work out with your other insurance needs? It doesn't, right? So talk to your insurance company. Make sure that they know that stuff. Okay? Informal doesn't mean sloppy. It just means not formally organized or recognized. If that to you means sloppy, well, then that's bad. This is the difference, like Mikos, we talk about this all the time. You get an official USPSA match, but you see a ton of outlaw matches, right? Does an outlaw match have to be sloppy or a mess?
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. It could be a wonderful professional run. It's just informal.
Yeah.
It's just not a formal USPSA match, right? Why? Well, for whatever reason. We didn't want to sanction it. We don't have this other thing, whatever, but we wanted people to have a really well-run, organized match. Now, that said, I've been to outlaw matches that are a sloppy, disorganized mess.
Yes.
And those suck, right? And you don't want to be part of them. So same thing here, okay? And both require training and both require planning, all right?